One day it clicked for me, man, where I have a son. You talked about family. I have a lovely wife, Melissa, and my son, Isaac. And I want to be there for his future. I want to be present. And it starts with me, right? It was more of a health journey for me, man. Like I was, 265 pounds, and I didn't have like the motivation to do anything. And I thought I could lose weight quick at any moment.
Hello, hello. Welcome to the People Run podcast. Now, to start this episode off, have you ever told yourself you're never going to run? You're never going to do a marathon? I don't know how people do this. If that sounds like you, that's exactly how this guest who I have on today is like. A good friend of mine, Ozzie, out of Florida. And he once told me he's never going to run, never going to do a marathon. And just a few months ago, we did a marathon, and which is the reason I wanted to have him on. Thanks, Ozzy, for jumping on. As you now know, this is the People Run podcast, where we share everyday runner stories. Talk about how you get it done, and whether you got a family, kids, you're a doctor, student, night shift, day shift. These are the people we want to interview. So, Ozzy, welcome to the People Run podcast. Thank you for jumping on. What's up, man? First off, how you doing?
What a setup, right?
I had to
I
because you were on here.
Yeah, no, I can't believe the journey, right? The fact that I did tell you that, and it hurts you being right now. But the fact is, it's a growth moment for me.
Yeah.
It's a growth moment where I'll never say never. Oh, that's a fact right there. So I can say that when this started, it was more of a health journey for me, man. Like I was 265 pounds, and I didn't have like the motivation to do anything. And I thought I could lose weight quick at any moment. I gotta give shout out to my boy though. His name's Milo for a moment here, and we would hang out, and every now and then he would tell me, man, just get active, do something, do something. And I'm like, yeah, cool, sure, yeah. You know what they say, you won't change, or you can't change unless it has to come from you. And I don't know, one day it clicked for me, man, where I have a son. You talked about family. I have a lovely wife, Melissa, and my son, Isaac. And I want to be there for his future. I want to be present. And it starts with me, right? So I got to be able to take care of myself to be able to take care of others. And Milo's theory was 10 minutes. That's it. 10 minutes. He says it takes longer for you to think about putting on your shoes and than to actually go out there and just give it 10 minutes. So the joke is that I started with 10 and I ended up with 5 hours in a marathon. So to do something like that, I never thought, I was obviously capable of, but yeah, man, I mean, I can't say that again. Never close mind yourself to think that you're not capable of something that if you put effort to, you can do. And a big part of that too is for you, man. Look where we're at right now, man. You got your podcast right now. I gotta give you congratulations, man. How does this feel for you right now, man? Look at this. You got a podcast, you got a couple of episodes in. Like, what's on your mind, man, for a moment?
Nah, man. Well, one, I'm happy to hear the story. See, I didn't know the 10-minute part, which kudos to Milo. For those listening, I know Milo as well. And yeah, that's a perfect way to get out there is, start small. I tell people all the time. I mean, even in my weight loss journey, it wasn't like, you go out there and bust out 3-4 miles, or you go in the gym and lift heavy weights. You just got to show up. And if you make it easy on yourself, you'll continue to the next day. And that's what it's all about, man, getting it in consistently day in and day out. As far as how I feel, man, this is wild. I never thought I would make a podcast or be recorded or any of that stuff, but it's funny. And I'm sure we'll get into this where running takes you. Running is, to me, I'm very grateful for running. Running helps you travel, run, improve mentally, and here I am recording a podcast. It's one of those things that came to me on a run. Funny enough, it was just like, man, it'd be kind of cool to record a podcast, but instead of interviewing, elites or top people in the industry, the everyday runner. And for some reason I was thinking of I think at the time I saw on social media there was a mom who had just BQ'd, which is like one of the hardest races, Boston qualifier, to get into. And she was like a mom of 2 kids and had to take them to school in the morning. And I'm like, how is she running 70 miles per hour? I was like, man, that'd be dope to share that story. And that's not the stuff we see on social media. So couple episodes in now, and then this will be dropping soon. It's getting real and exciting, and we'll see how people react to it, man. But just doing it for the passion, the love, and having fun with it. And there's some growth that comes from podcasts as well. So here we are, man. And with that said, man, I want to rewind a little bit. Tell me what life was like pre-running. Like, what was food like? What was active like? What was even family like pre-running?
Yeah. Yeah, so I feel like I would wake up a lot later. Even though I have a son, you wake up in the morning by default early, right? But I realized that uh, that had to change at one point if I was going to take on this running. But pre-running, man, my lifestyle was crazy, man. I went out and yeah, I'd probably drink on a Thursday, maybe on a Friday, maybe even on a Saturday,
Yeah,
I would go out, you add that to the bad eating habits, that lifestyle may be fun, but it's not sustainable, And so, again, it took time for me to realize that I had to make a change. And maybe if I had to attest or tie it to a reasoning. My brother suffered a stroke, and so maybe that was something that triggered me to make the change
yeah,
unknowingly, or unconsciously, and maybe that's something that I can reflect on now and say that, it's something that maybe turn the light switch on and do that. But I thought life was good at that point. Let's be honest, man. I mean, I can eat whatever I want, do whatever I want, wake up at whatever time I want on the weekends. Yeah, on the weekends, it's my time. I want to wake up at 8. I'm sorry, at 10 or whatever the case was. I can do that. And I realized that, like I said, it wasn't sustainable, man. And the good thing is that, like, your family's gonna love you, right? My wife's
yeah,
gonna love me
for
no matter
sure.
what.
Regardless, yep,
Yeah, my son's gonna love me no matter what. And so you think life is fine, but it's really not, because you're doing damage to yourself, by doing the habits that I was doing,
yeah.
and I needed to do the change, man. I needed to do the change.
Man, that's awesome. What was family's reaction? When you started running, you're doing the 10 minutes, you're getting consistent, you go from drinking and going out more consistently to like, whoa, dad and husband's running a little bit more consistently and the family seeing it. Like, what was that like? And also you run in Miami, so tell us about the adjustment to the heat
Wow,
and
really?
just getting active.
Yeah. So the wife's always been supportive of running the 10 minutes. I mean, let's be real. I can run for 10 minutes and still do the things that I told you about. I can go out and have a
Yeah,
drink, go out and do this, still wake up late. What I realized is that something you mentioned, how you thought about this podcast, is when I started running the 10 minutes,
yeah,
is that I found myself free out there. Like I felt I could, just clear my mind, and I noticed that I would make these runs longer because I started not focusing on my run. I started focusing on other things,
yeah,
It's funny when you start running, you think you put music on and that's the way you want to roll. And yeah, I'm going to listen to like music. You can do that. But I realized that I need to slow that down and turn that into a podcast or whatever the case was with more time added. Um, but there's no better or one thing that added to me as a feeling that I loved was I would be at work from 9 to about 12. Maybe I had a bad morning at work. It was rough.
yeah,
But working from home, I had the flexibility where I can literally go outside, put my shoes on, go outside, and go for a run. And then when I came back, whatever problem I had either became smaller or I had a solution that I thought about while I was running. So I realized that I am clearing my mind. I'm doing good work while I'm out there, And it's funny how it just frees up things, like you may be just stuck because you're looking at it from one perspective, but while I'm running, I'm looking from different angles and how to solve whatever issue I may be thinking about or something like that. So but yeah, the wife's been supportive. Isaac laughs all the time when I just go and run because he's like, initially it was just a short period, but now it's like I could be gone for like hours.
yeah,
So, but the good things I've adjusted. I tend to run more in the morning now. I think that's the best thing, right? Like you got to move. You got to do the hardest thing first in the day. That's like that's the only way. I hate running at night. I dislike it. But if I have to do it, I'll do it, because I feel like the day already had me. I already, I probably ate already. And like, I'm just like, ugh, I love running fasted. That's like one
yeah.
thing that to me is I feel lighter. I feel, just
Wait,
great.
you
And like
said
I said,
fasted?
Yeah, fasted. Yeah.
Man, okay.
And the I don't know, man. Like if I do it in the morning, I set myself up for the rest of my day. Like the endorphins or whatever dopamine I get from there, like it's all up from there. I show up to work ready with action. Like I can see it in my own productivity at work. If I work out, I see better results. Or how I approach things. I'm more positive. So now it went from running to health to like a lifestyle. Because I'm starting to realize the benefits off of it. My wife started loving the fact that I'm dedicating more time to myself and working on myself. But I've started realizing that if I wanted to keep this going, I needed to set a goal. And so that's where the race came into play, because I understand now. I understand why the race is necessary. It's kind of to help you stay focused, to put in the work. And think about it. If I'm training for something, now I can't be going on a Thursday. I can't be going on a Friday because I got to run Saturday morning because I got to recover on Sunday. So there was um there was a lot of sacrifices that I had to do to get that stuff back. But now in hindsight, like it's easy, like it's easy to be able to put that aside and put my health, my goals now, which is running another marathon that I have coming up with you in November. By the way.
Yeah, we'll get to that. What I want to ask you, right? So one, I'm happy for you, man, because it sounds like a lot of the stuff is like falling into place and is consistent and you got it organized. But how are you getting that organized? So you walk me through like your day, and obviously you don't have to say where you work, just kind of like what you do. You wake up, you run, you run fasted, which is whole crazy another thing in my. But there are some benefits too. Then you go to work roughly what time? You spend time with the family when that kind of stuff. What's your sleep like, etc.
Yeah, so I'm gonna say that it's funny. I have the Apple Watch, and on the Apple Watch I have a reminder to go to sleep, or it tells me hey, it's bedtime. 10:30 is usually when I try to knock out. So I'll be in bed at 10:30. I'll wake up at 6:30, depending if I'm snoozing that day. But the minimal goal, is 2 miles, and I'll explain why 2 miles is important. But 2 miles, I don't care. I need to get 2 miles in somehow. And then I'll level that up to 2.5 or whatever the case is. But 2 miles is like, I have to do it. That's my 10 minutes now. Yeah. 2 miles. Minimum, I have to get that done. So I'll knock that out in the morning from, 6:30 to, whatever, 7. I can knock out 3 or close to 3 miles in that time frame. I come back. I spend some time with Isaac before he goes to school. We get like
Nice.
about 15 minutes there that we can do that. I get ready, go to work. I work in a sales environment, so I need to be amped up. I need to be ready to go. I'm also a people person. I'm very social, so I need to get that going and be able to effectively communicate to my clients and also amongst my peers. So I'm doing that from like 9 to 5. My job can take me, I want to say, what, 20, 30 miles one way, or I could be at home. It depends on how I plan my day out. There's times though that, look, man, I didn't wake up on time, man. I moved all the way to 7 or whatever the case was. And so this is one thing that I have to earn my whatever it is. So like before I play Madden, let's say, before I do Netflix, before I do anything, I have to earn my my whatever it is, my vice. So I'll have to go and
Gotcha.
run. That's like my
Like your
policy.
free time, playtime, your
Yeah.
enjoyment, like kind of like the cake or cheat meal, or in this case,
Yeah.
Netflix, Madden.
Yeah. So I have to run before I do that, and then I earn that run. I earn that time of Netflix or whatever. Um, you know, Someone once told me that you know they set me up. The same for Milo. He's like, hey, so what series are you watching or whatever? I'm like, yeah. He's like, with all that time that you spent on the series, you could have, definitely spent 10 minutes.
Nothing
So,
like peer pressure from the boys.
yeah. But look, you know what? I gotta get respect. He never gave up, because you could
Yeah.
easily be like, man, like, he doesn't want to listen. So I respect that. And then also, like, the support, you just said it, support is big, man. I mean, the chat that we have where we can all chime in, and check ourselves. There's days where that thing is super active. Everyone's just posting nonstop. And you see that and you're like, why am I not out there right now? Why am I not running right now? Or it's a ghost town and you got to be the spark for that
Yeah.
group. You're the one that starts it up. So I think having that environment where we're promoting it, where we're all pushing each other. It's like, hey, you ran 1 mile, and obviously we can go Goggins and say, oh, that's it, a mile. But the what we put out there is, hey, man, you got up and you did the work. I mean, you didn't have to, you could have chosen not to, but you at least took the initiative. And so that right there helps you build confidence. And next thing you know, you're just, you're stacking up those miles. So that's something that how my day would look like, and I'm sure we ventured off here a little bit.
No, you good, man. This is what it's all about, man. I'm appreciative you sharing, man. And funny enough, I did want to get into like support, and we've kind of spoken to that. Like for those listening, real quick, we have this chat. I can't remember exactly because it's been a few years now, but I used to live in Florida as well, and that's how I know Ozzy. We've known each other 8, 9 years at this point. It's been a while, my boy. But when I left Florida, I had just started running when I was in Florida, and I was in Seattle for a bit. And somehow I think I was posting my runs or something. And Ozzy hits me up one day, and he's like, yo, I started running. And I'm like, whoa, really? And he throws me in this chat. And in this chat, I get this history of chatting. There's a whole bunch of people running and getting in. And what I love about it is that we're all different types of runners there. Some are faster. Some are just getting into it. Some are just, I'm going to run a half every other season. But we all like show up and support each other. And that's what he's talking about. Well, like there'll be a chat and someone will post a picture. I did 8 miles. I did 1, and we'll joke around. But like, for those listening, it's good to have support people. And what I want to ask you is, man, because I know the context, but for those listening, tell me about like your running, your training. Do you run solo often? Do you run with people? That kind of stuff.
Yeah. Look, man, I think this is my area of opportunity. I am the type to just put my shoes on and just go, man. Like
Okay.
I told you, my goal is minimum 2 miles and just keep going from there. The most discipline I ever had is when you set up a plan for me, actually. I think that's something that I needed. I needed a little bit of structure to get me going. The good thing is that you taught me enough where now I can kind of do it on my own. And so I try to get anywhere between 20 miles a week is what I'm looking to do. And the idea is Monday through Friday, I'm doing maybe 8 miles, and then I'm finishing it off or capping it off maybe on a Saturday with 10 or 12, depending on what I ended up doing throughout the week. Obviously, that can change. That can fluctuate, man. Sometimes, you'll do more. Sometimes you do less. If you're training for, obviously, a marathon, you got to amp that up big time. The speed workouts is one thing that I never incorporated, or strength training. I did not incorporate at all. I definitely felt that a little bit, but it's possible you can do without it, because
Yeah.
we didn't do it. But you're cutting yourself short if you're not doing it. I've learned that, and I've learned it so much so that I turned my garage into a gym now. So I have no excuse of me having to get my behind to a gym and sign up for a membership. I brought the gym to me, and so I have no excuse. It could be 10 minutes. Go 10 minutes. Go do some resistance bands. Go do something. Just have a base when it comes to strength training, which is something I realized that I could have definitely benefited from in previous runs.
No, it definitely helps, and it'll help you get in shape. And now you have it at home. I mean, Ozzy has a cool gym for sure, from what I've seen from when he showed me. But as runners, we don't need to bodybuild or anything like that. Which, funny enough, I spent years on. But like for running, you get it in consistently, a few times a week, good enough.
Yeah, it's interesting, the whole theory about it, because you're thinking. I mean, I didn't do the science behind it, but I'm just thinking, man, just run, just keep running, and But the truth is, you need to get them strength, get some strength in those legs, and it'll make things a lot more easier for you when you have to be on the 20th mile or 20 something mile.
Yeah.
I mean, there was all types of things I'm just thinking about. Shoulder pain. I don't even know. I never had shoulder pain, and I got shoulder pain. I don't know what was going on, but I started feeling all types of pains that day.
Well,
things I've never
talking
felt
about
before.
that, let's get into races, right? Before we get into the marathon, you didn't start at a full marathon. So, like, where'd you start from? What was your experience like with races? What made you even get into races? Because you used to tell us, I'm not racing, I'm just doing it for fun.
Yeah, so I think the whole theory behind the race was just improve lifestyle, right? Because if I have something that I have to work to, I'm competitive, man. I just told you I'm in sales. I want to do good, and I wanted to do better at running, and I wanted to prove to myself that I am capable of maybe starting with a half marathon. So that was my first official race, I want to say. And that was interesting. I'm
Tell me
talking
more.
about it was in Islamorada, so it's in the Keys. I mean, we're talking about phenomenal views,
Yeah.
right under the sun. And this is where like doing your research comes a long way. So obviously, I got no hair to cover me here, but I decided to, run this race and I wasn't prepared properly from maybe a hydration standpoint or a plan for hydration and also protect my skin, protect, overall my body while I was out there. And it was a tough race. Everything was going fine for me. And then towards the end, I hit a wall. And I remember what got me through was Eminem Till I Collapse. I literally
Okay.
had that
Good song.
replay for the last 3 miles and I collapsed at the end. I literally did. I literally did. I collapsed and I fainted, and
Wow.
I was like, yeah, they had the medics on me and everything, And so that was, first off, you could see it as a moment of weakness, but I just saw it as a moment of strength that I
Yeah, you
wasn't,
did.
I wasn't stopping. I'm not, I'm not gonna, like Goggins says, don't stop because you're tired, stop when you're done.
When you're done,
So
yeah.
I made sure that I finished the race, got my medal, and then I collapsed. So that was definitely a learning moment for me. I realized that I didn't hydrate enough through the race. So I had my first gel or my first sip halfway through.
Oh,
I don't know
wow.
what I was thinking. And I think when I was training, I was doing it that way. I don't know why. But I was also training in a different element. I was training in covered trees. Uh, and this Island Rada race was on a bridge, no shade, 13 miles. Like,
Okay.
no shade
Let
either
me
way.
ask you a little bit more about that. I want to get some specifics here. So, like, you got your first half, you sign up for it. What was the conditions like of the race? You already
It
told
was
me how.
sunny. It was hot. Oh, this is another part too. This is where I guess the fasted part is not good, but the race, I didn't get to stay in Island Rada that night, which is another lesson that I had to learn. So we drove here with a couple buddies of mine. I want to say 2.5 hours. So the race, let's say the race starts at 7. We had to leave our house by 4, waking
Mhm.
up maybe at 3. So from 3 to 7,
You
nothing
didn't need
inside
aid.
of me as far as, maybe you had water or something like that. And so uh that's kind of how I set myself up for a tough race. Everything was going good, man. The engine lights did not come on till like I want to say like the 10th mile, and that's where things started deteriorating fast. But and I think also another thing too is the emotions are there. Like I started, like I felt like invincible for a little bit. I was just running fast. It felt comfortable. It felt good. And that's where you got to be a little disciplined and understand that, it's not a race, it's a marathon or it's half a marathon in this case. But it was, I think I had to go through that moment, Fitz,
Yeah.
because
We all do.
that, think about it, that happened in January. And then in December, I signed that. So that January, finished the race, and I want to say like a month later, I signed up
I
for
know
a
for
full
the full.
marathon. So think about it. Look at the ignorance. I barely made it through half a marathon. I pretty much I told you I fainted at the end to signing up. Me having the audacity to think that I can, in 11 months later, run a full marathon and be fine.
Was there any that's got to be crazy. You finish your first half, you till you collapse. You got medics on you on the first one. What It speaks to your mental fortitude and all that, but what made you go like, I'm not done with racing. I want to do some more. And you know what? I'm going to sign for a full right after this, even though it's almost a year out. Like, some people go, I'm going to take a break or I'm going to do a 5K, 10K. What made you or allowed you to go, you know what? I'm going to keep going with this.
Yeah, I think I wasn't happy with my performance. That felt to me like I left a lot on the table, and I wanted to get what was mine, and I wanted to just do better, man. And so that, and then also I realized that now that I did my half, do I go back to my lifestyle or like, hey, I don't have to have a
Gotcha.
race anymore,
Yeah.
so I can just do what I got to do. So at this point, it's kind of like keep me structured and keep me in place, instead of having
Yeah.
to maybe result to doing something that I was doing in the past, whether it was, not dedicating to my health. And again, I should be able to do that on my own, but I think the race is something that I need right now to keep me going and keep me on pace, for a better lifestyle.
Okay. So from there, you went from the half. Did you do any? We'll get to the full here in a minute, but did you do any other races in between January to December?
I mean, I might have done like a corporate run, which is
The corporate 5K, right? Okay.
something like that. On that one, I got a. It's funny because for a while I struggled looking at. I wanted to be faster. That was just my goal. Like I wanted to be faster, faster, faster. And I feel like they say that they say basically that comparison is the thief of joy, and I
Mhm.
was trying to compare myself with others. I want to be fast like them, but that's not my journey, man. That's just not.
Yeah.
And instead of me focusing on that, I should and focus on what I have. Take inventory of what I've done. Take inventory of what I'm doing. And to me, it's when I started thinking that way, I'm like, yeah, man, I'll do my mile in 11 minutes. It's fine. I'll do my mile in 12 minutes if I have to. That's fine. And it doesn't mean that I can't adapt and change. And obviously, with the right training, that drops. But once I understood that, that and zone two are like, to the bright lights, you know what I mean? Because at that point, it was easier for me. And it's wild what zone two can do like that. I can be there for hours as long as I know that, I'm at 145.
Okay. Yeah, man. That's a lesson that most people tend to learn late or later. Not someone who just started a year and a half ago. It's one I've even had to like face. Like we can all be fast. I'm a big believer, or maybe too optimist for that, but we can all get fast. But the journey is different for everyone, you know? Someone might start slower, someone might start really fast, you know? Fast runners burn out sometimes. Fast runners go a long time. Slower runners go from slow to fast. You know, we see it all online all the time. There's always some person who goes from like the underdog all the way to like super fast. So kudos to you for learning that lesson early, man. So I mean, let's get into it right from there. So then you train, right? Well, you sign up for the full, and now you're going to train for it. So for all those listening, share. Actually, I want to backtrack a bit. What time did you do at the half, and then what was the name of the full you signed up for?
The Man, I should have had this information.
It's all good.
I don't know my time right now for the half. I could probably look it up and
Roughly,
yeah, man, I have no clue, man. I really
no
don't.
worries.
I really don't. How about this? For sure, I think I did about 12 and a half per month. So
Okay,
whatever that's equal to me. Yeah.
fair enough.
And the one that we signed up was for Garden of Life in what was it,
West
West Palm
Palm,
Beach, I think it was. Yeah.
West Palm Beach.
I
Yep.
think it was Palm Beach, yeah. So yeah, so we signed up for that race and I realized that this day was coming and then man I think if you didn't step in and applied your assistance because you were striving to um, follow some goals and becoming a coach, and at that point you wanted to challenge yourself and see if you can help others complete their goals. And yeah, man, you came in clutch. You created a plan for me based on my journey, which is very important. And yeah, you set up a plan, and that's something that I'm good at. When you tell me what to do, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
So that made it easy for me. I think what also makes it easy is that Milo is also in that marathon, and so I would literally religiously on Saturdays we're running together no matter what. And we would find ways to make it happen. But that's not everything. There's days that you're gonna have to do it by yourself. And there was several days that I did it by myself. And one thing that most people don't really understand, maybe you'll post that you just completed a marathon. But what everybody doesn't see is the last 12 months or the 11 months of you waking up at 6 in the morning, crack of dawn, while everyone's getting back from a party. I'm about to start my running party. So they don't see that. They don't see the hours that are put in, the sweats that's put in, the falls, the bloopers while you're out there. The all that stuff that happens, and it feels good once you do it, but it's not easy. It's not easy. All that work that's done, and a lot of people, wonder why is this person so good at this? Why is this person so good at that? Well, it's because they do it behind the scenes. I mean,
Yeah.
Steph Curry, doesn't he shoot like thousands of shots or like 1,000 shots a day or something like that? Some crazy number.
Some crazy number. Yeah.
And that's why he can make those shots look easy in game time because he's putting those shots up consistently at practice. So I think that's something that can be said enough. The work's going to show, through the work that you put through. So yeah, the training was brutal, but it was awesome. I loved it, man. I think I learned a lot too. These long runs helped me out, better myself in many ways. I started listening to self-help podcasts, Mel Robbins, Jay Shetty, like a bunch of podcasts that really helped me with self growth, man. Like, I mean, you can't stop learning. If you don't learn, you're probably dead. So I appreciate that time out there, and I still do. That's one thing that I can go out there and like I said, I can clear my mind. I can work on myself. I can find solutions when I'm running.
Yeah. So you mentioned Jay Shetty, Mel Robbins, and a few other speakers and motivational people. Are they the ones who inspire you? Like, who's some of your main inspirations and stuff you like, books, audio, whatever it is that keep you going and running, or even life journey as is?
Yeah, I think Jay Shetty is a big one, man. I like Jay Shetty a lot. He has that monk mentality, where you got to peel back the layers and really understand life, man. Like there's a reason behind every decision, and every day there's tons of decisions, And the decision that I made of 10 minutes per day to run, or whatever the case it was, shaped me to run a marathon. And also facing your fears, man. There's times where the person that said I can't run a race or I won't do a race was the weaker version of me, and that's the David Goggins side, like you need both. You need that little, motivator that got you here, but you also need that tough love, and that's where Goggins comes in. That's when you see the memes, you sit down, you're taking a rest day, you open your phone, and
Yeah.
Goggins is like, so you want
You're taking a rest day?
to
Yeah.
be regular. That's what you want to be. So, you know, it's, it, I don't want to have a victim mentality, man. I don't want to have that. It's because what I do, that's why things get done. So, yeah, man. So Jay Shay's a big one. I like Mel Robbins. She's good. Goggins is great. Man, also, who says you can't have fun while you're out there too? Theo Vaughn got me through so many runs. I mean, his stories are wild. They're entertaining. I love them. Uh, Rogan podcast is amazing because it's like 3 hours long, so I can literally do the whole thing, when I'm running. But yeah, you got to balance it out too, man. It's not only but I also usually the last couple of miles I'll try to amp up and put some music on there. I can go from reggaeton, I can do hip hop, I can do metal, I can do a little bit of everything to get me through. So it's a mixture, man. It's a mixture depending on the mood I'm in or what I'm trying to accomplish or what I'm trying to work on. I'll seek it out.
Okay. I like it. So talking about 3 hour runs, right? Let's get into this marathon, right? Because you
Yeah.
mentioned some of the motivation for those long runs, So those alluding, Ozzy had signed up for the full, and then somewhere around like 12, 16 weeks out, I had just gotten certified to become a coach. And I put in the chat, I'm like, hey, I know you guys got a race coming up, like if you guys are down, I'm down to coach you guys. I wanted to get the experience of coaching people. And also, like you said, kind of challenge. Let me get these guys to the finish line. I was pretty confident I can. But what I want to get to is, right, so we started training and whatnot. Let's start with the training. Like, what did you find most difficult? You said some of it, but like, what did you find most difficult? Was it the long run? Also, kudos to you, man. I can't do what you do. He runs in Miami. It's super hot. This was middle of the summer. It's super humid. So just getting through that. Let's start with the training first. What did you find most difficult, and what was that like?
Man, I think what helped me out for the training, obviously all training is very difficult, but what really helped me out is that I didn't just start training. I kept myself active from January till
Yeah.
when we started around June. So when we started picking up, I was already running 10 miles. I was
Yeah.
already, in that flow. So I think that really helped. Something to take away is if you want it to be consistent, make it a lifestyle. Think that it's only a training block for a marathon.
Yeah.
Do it where you're running every week. You're just doing it just to maintain base, let's say. So that was something that really helped me out. If I didn't, and I'm starting kind of from scratch again in June, it would have been a tougher task. There was some runs, man. You walk out, you start running, and by mile 3, I don't know how I'm going to complete 7 more miles if I'm doing 10 miles. I just don't see it. It's not in the cards today. It's not going to happen. We're done here,
Yeah.
and you got to push through, man. And then I asked myself, and you want to do 26? 26. You can't even get to 4 right now, And I probably just did that last week without a problem. But that goes to show you, man, days are different, man. Some days are going to be great. You're going to flow. you're just gonna break records, and then the other days you hit a wall, man. And I think those are the days that you don't give up. Those are the days that you dig deep and you keep going, because those are the days that prepare you for that wall in the 20s, and 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 you're gonna hit that fucking wall. You're
So
definitely
talking
gonna hit
about
that
walls,
wall.
right? We started this race. So I flew out for everyone listening to this race because it was Ozzy and a couple other friends of ours. And also I was coaching a few of them. But I was like, man, I want to surprise these guys and fly out, right? So we get to this race. And this is what I'm talking about and alluding to with walls. So we get to this race and we start with a wall. Ozzy, if you want to share, what was the start of the race like for this full marathon in West Palm Beach? Conditions, you know what I mean?
Yeah, man. I mean, we already talked about my half marathon experience, right? So, I'm over here trying to keep composure and don't get ahead of myself, you know, control myself. And God is like, let me bless you with some rain. And God gave us not only rain, but gave us monsoon right away. And if that wasn't enough, you know, there was wind. Like we're talking about 20 miles per hour winds. That's what was on the forecast that day. And that was humbling, because but I will say maybe that was a distraction, Refits. Like because it started raining, because this, my focus is no longer like, I'm just there like, man, like I'm worried about the rain, I'm worried about this, and like, maybe that it might have been a blessing in disguise, because my mind wasn't thinking about the 26. Now I'm thinking about, man, I'm here wet. I gotta stay myself dry, and this and that. But yes, Fitz comes down here, from the beautiful mountains of Colorado, to the hurricane force winds that were out here, and yeah, it was bad, man. It was right before, like literally, I want to say 15 minutes before the race, we're all waiting in line, and there's massive amounts of rain on top of us, and they said it's gonna stop before the race, and it didn't. I want to say, maybe 10 minutes into the
Yeah.
race, I feel like kind of started
I'm
dissipating,
not gonna lie, man. I was at that start line, and it's I'm there, and I'm happy to be there, and I'm like, okay, you guys are running this race, and I've been coaching you guys, and then it's like the weather's supposedly gonna be 60 something, high 60s, which for those that live in Miami is not too bad considering it always gets to 80, and then in comes this rain. I gotta pull my jacket out. It's cold. Then it starts pouring tsunami like, and I'm here like, oh, I feel scared for these boys right now. I'm
yeah.
like, we've been coaching, but we weren't coaching for this.
Well, that's a good point though. There, Fitz. There was days that it rained when I was training, and I didn't think it was going to rain that day for the
No,
race. And
neither do we. Yeah, no one did.
however, though, that prepares me. I know what it feels like to run with wet socks. I know what it feels like to run and hit a puddle. I know what it feels like to be in wet clothes. Obviously the sweat, but I'm talking about, before you even run, you're already wet. So I think that that's another part of going and running. Sometimes we make excuses because the weather is not looking so great today. The weather's not this. I mean, find a treadmill. If you don't have a treadmill, go outside, because that's going to prepare you for the element that you may be facing.
Yep,
It's
that's a good
just
point.
how it works. So believe it or not, I think that that's something else that probably helped me out in that process. Like, okay, I've been here before. I felt this. I know what this feels like. And so, yeah, man, it was raining, and the wind. The wind was there, and all of a sudden, of course, now the sun comes out. And yeah, all that adds up. Um, there was a there was there was a I don't know. I think the most brutal thing was the winds at times, because you're running and it's just you're fighting that, man. You're fighting that. And it felt like I was it wasn't working in my favor.
Yeah, walk me through that. So, like, for those listening, it started with rain. The rain went away. Then it got hot. And if those of you who've ever been to Florida, hot means humid. But they also had wind. And this was like one of the worst marathon conditions I've ever seen in a race. You got, torrential downpour at the beginning. You got heat. You got humidity. Then you got headwinds. And it's the whole course is a loop. So you're circling back the same areas with the same wind and same heat. What was going through your mind, during that, through the race for the first half and then and beyond? Like, what kept you going?
Yeah, man. Look, I was pretty impressed with myself starting this race. Obviously, I learned my lesson the first time around. I was hydrating all the way through. This was my first or second official race, that with distance. And so I still hadn't really narrowed down my water practices, meaning, I've seen the videos and what to do, but I didn't want to deviate too much from what I know. But it went from me just using my water bottles to then I'm grabbing water, I'm refilling my water, like I was doing a bunch of that stuff. But yeah, the most important thing for me, I wanted to make sure I stayed hydrated from the beginning. I was hydrating the night before. I was hydrating hours before the race or an hour before the race. Hydration was not going to be a problem this time around. I wanted to make sure that was addressed. I had enough gels to feed, families. I was ready for that, and my goal was every 30 minutes I'm doing a gel. I did one 5 minutes before. The gel of my choice is actually I have one here. I just use the goo, and everyone has different preferences. That to me is just easy. It's my go-to, and every 30 minutes I'll do one of those. I'm having a swig of water every time I have one of those. I have electrolytes. I had two 10-ounce bottles, one with electrolytes, one with just plain water. That's how I did my training. I noticed some people would have two electrolytes. I don't know. I need to have water just for my taste. I don't know. It helps me out. Um, but yeah, I felt good. I hit the half mark, and at the half mark, well, actually, I think we have seen you before the half mark.
Yeah.
But we were rolling,
7 mile
man.
was like the first one.
One thing I was really concerned, but it didn't happen, was the restroom situation. For those starting out, pooping is real when it comes to marathon, or running. But this time around, man, I had no issues with that whatsoever. It wasn't even on my mind. I don't even know how that happened. Maybe it was the rain, the distractions that kept me from,
Yeah.
thinking about that stuff. But so the bathroom wasn't a concern anymore. And so I'm just running, man. I'm doing my thing. I'm watching my pace. I'm not going faster than I can. I'm conserving my energy. I'm making sure that I'm just doing what I have to do. Obviously, I wanted to do a goal of 4.5 to 5 hours. I didn't get to achieve that, but I. At one point I didn't think I was going to finish the race. So the fact that I did finish the race was good enough for me. And so everything is going good, man. I think at one point there was no engine lights till around the 16th mile, man. I think I saw you. You were very supportive, by the way. Fitz, there was four. How many of us was it? Four of us probably running. Yeah, I think it was four of us running.
Yeah, 4 because there's people doing the half as well. So yeah.
Yeah, it was four of us running, and Fitz was just doing checks, man. I mean, this guy was like a ninja. He was coming out of the bushes, like, hey, I got you. What do you need? Like, what's going on? And so, I appreciate that. He was a supporter. It's good to see a familiar face because, when you're running, everyone's different speeds,
Yeah,
and
you're out there alone. Yeah.
your friend may be ahead, your friend may be behind. And it's good to see Fitz come out of nowhere. He was also a photographer, man. I mean, he was out there taking pictures of us, videos of us. So we definitely appreciated that. And we got to the halfway mark. And one thing I got to say, Fitz, I don't like loops. I don't want to do loops anymore. So I prefer one take me from point A to point B, man. I don't want to go back to point
Okay.
A, So, but it is what it is. We got the halfway mark. You met me there. You looked at my water and you're like, man, drink more water. You
Yeah.
told me you should be like done, and I listened
It
to
was
your
like
advice.
80 degrees by that point or something. So it was hot by that point.
Yeah, it was getting hot. That's the other thing too. Maybe you gotta anticipate, right? You can't take it when you're dead already. You gotta be ahead of the curve here. And you're right. It was getting hotter, and it was only gonna get even worse. So I want to say the first thing that I started feeling was I started feeling this weird sensation in my shoulders, man. I've never felt that running ever, ever. It felt weird. I still don't know to this day what it was, man. I don't know if it was the weather, the wind that was like, hitting my shoulders, or maybe I was over aggressive in my hands or my movement. Man, I don't know. I don't know.
I
I don't
suspect
know
it's a
what it was.
combo of the bottle and just, it's 26 miles. There's a lot of steps. You might think it's just a very small bottle, but there's a lot of steps that happen in a marathon. The carrying, it's not the same of just like walking with, probably the equivalent of walking with like 10, 15 pounds for quite some distance. Eventually it gets on you. Obviously, it was very hot too, which cramps up muscles and whatnot. I mean, this kudos to you, man. This race, I don't think most people who are going to listen to will have had similar conditions of a marathon, and yet you finished it. And that's not just to like gaslight or how people say now, over shares, just, running a full with rain, Rain goes away. It's hot. It's now humid. It's a loop. Then you got 20. I think it even went up to 30-mile-per-hour gust winds, and it's never a tailwind. It's always straight ahead, And this being your first marathon on top of that, it's just insane
For sure.
for that to be the first.
Yeah.
Very little
It was,
shade too, from what I remember.
yeah, very little shade. Very little shade. So that was the first thing that I started feeling. I started looking at my watch and I'm like, man, like, can I afford to just, slow down here or even come to a walking pace? And, I pushed through. I didn't walk at that point. I just kept going. I think we wrapped back around towards the beginning of the race. And then this is where the heavy miles start coming in. I think we're like into the 18s. And my pace is off. My pace is off. At one point, I think my legs started like just not giving up on me, but they just felt heavy. Not that I couldn't handle it, but it just felt heavy, and yeah, my heart rate started going up a little bit. And now I'm like in the 58, 160, and that's it's not bad, but it's not where I'm used to training. I was at the 145, so I knew my body was going through something. I felt it. Those are the initial signs for me, and so I had to slow down. So I slowed down, and man, I was completely, man. I don't know if I'm going to be able to finish this. And I think it was at mile 22 that this started happening. And I just see people passing me, and I'm like, man, what time? I started getting worried at what time is the cutoff. Like, am I going to be able to make this cutoff here? I think it's 6 hours, right, or something like that. And so I, all of a sudden, I see the guy that's pacing. I want to say 5.
Mhm.
So I think he was pacing uh, 5 hours, and he passes me. And this gave me hope. This gave me hope that, oh my God, like, it's not what I think it is. Like, this is very attainable. Maybe I was just overexerting myself. So I try to keep up with this gentleman. It was only him and one person at this point. So I guess he lost all his crew. And so I started pacing with him, and this guy led me like through some difficult miles, man. Some difficult miles. And then at one point, I'm looking at my watch and I'm like, there's no freaking way. There's no freaking way. This guy you're supposed to be 5. And he's just going faster and faster. And I think he might have made a deal with someone there where he was just like, we're going to do better time since it's just me and you. And I lose him. And I'm like, oh my God, this is, like that was my angel at this moment. Luckily, I had another angel that I wasn't expecting. And it came through clutch, man. So I got my AirPods on, and when someone texts you, I had everyone muted but my wife, and my wife texted me, and she's like, I think she mentioned something around the words like, "Oh, you should be around here. I'm tracking you," and she goes, "I'm so proud of you. Like Isaac is so happy for you." Like just words that got me so emotional, man. They got me emotional, and it reminded me that I can do this. It gave me a moment of clarity of, yay, stop acting like what, and
Get her
and get
done.
your and get your butt going. And man, I got emotional and I tear. It was joy, but it was also like letting go of the pain that I had
Yeah.
and just go forward, man. It meant a lot. It meant a lot, and I had no intention of having that come through my ears. Like I wasn't expecting it, but it came when it needed to come. I don't know how that happened, but it meant everything to me, and it meant everything to me in that race. And at that moment, I kept going, man. I kept moving. I was going at a slow pace, but I was not walking it, and we were just cruising. And I found someone that I was running with, or someone that I saw there, and we were both pushing each other. It was their first marathon as well, and through conversation, we were just keeping each other motivated. And now that was my pacer, and we were both pacing each other. And then with time, we just started creating a space. But then it's funny how the world works. Someone else shows up, and Fitz shows up from the bushes again. And Fitz is there for the last mile and a half, I
I
want
might
to
insert
say.
like a ninja picture or something in here.
All this I'm talking about happened from mile 22 to like mile 24. It sounds like 2 miles, like nothing. But once I got to 24, the importance of 2 miles is everything to me, man, because I knew at that point, that's it. This is what I do best. I do 2 miles in my sleep. I do this every day. 2 miles is easy to me. And so that is in my head, I'm like, man, here we go. These are the 2 miles. That's all I need to do. Then I see Fitz. I mean, like, man, all the stars are aligning for me right now. And that's it. The last, mile and a half, you were there for me. And I don't know how to say this, but I remember the last half marathon, I collapsed, right? I literally fainted because I gave it my all. And I did not want that to happen this time around. I did not feel like I was going to faint, but you were in my ear and you said, for this next point 0.6 or whatever it was, I need you to just hit the gas and don't look back. And in my head, all I thought about was collapse, collapse, collapse. Like, I'm going to collapse. I'm going to get that. And I want to finish the race. I just don't want to collapse. But, why not? I've been training for this and I can do this. And so I pushed it. You guided me to the end and I ended up pushing everything that I had left in the tank out and I crossed that line and I did not faint. I actually felt good. I needed to eat something right away though. So I hit up those pancakes that were not great, but I tore it up. But I did it. I did it, and it was unreal. It was unreal because during that process, I'm telling you, man, from out 22 to like 24, it sounds so easy. It's just but it was so difficult, like mentally that you're doubting yourself. Why? I'm at 22 miles. I'm good. Who else can run 22 miles? Let's stop here. It's easy to stop here. Why not just stop? You know.
Yeah.
But that taught me that there's going to be obstacles in life. There's going to be things that I got to deal with, and I got to push through. And the marathon prepared me to see the end goal. We used to work together, and we used to talk about presentations a lot. And one of the things that you always said was always keep the end goal in mind. And so throughout this whole race, that needed to be kept in mind.
Yeah.
Finishing this race, and the end goal was to get this done, and we got it done, man. We got it done. It was emotional, man. It was unbelievable, and the support system was insane, man. Because we had just finished. I had just crossed, and as I'm crossing, by the way, my wife and son couldn't make it. They had COVID. They were really sick, and obviously, I might have had COVID too, by the way, but they couldn't make it. But Gabe's wife and daughters were there, and they saw me run, and they were screaming my name as I'm, emptying the gas tank. And so, I ate my pancakes real quick, went to go see them. You already had turned back to go get Gabe,
Yeah.
and I started walking towards you guys, and I realized that wasn't a good idea. But I tried to walk towards you guys, and I wanted to see Gabe cross that line too, man, because Gabe put in a lot of work. Gabe, very proud of Gabe as well too, so it was good to see him cross the line. I crossed the line. My brother crossed the line as well. My brother's another one, man. I don't even know how this guy did this. Like he had like a little like turbo pack, that he unleashed mid race.
I gotta invite some of these guys on, but yeah, for your brother. Funny enough, you mentioned I coached both of those guys in that race, and like the one thing I will say with your brother, man, is not to pit anyone against each other, but he was like the silent one. He was like, hey, let's not share my runs, let's not post anything, let's just work. And it's funny, I think 2 weeks in, I was like, man, just working with him, I gotta change the approach for him because he is different. Like it's weird. I can't to this day kind of quite picture it, but we figured out a cadence on like no pun intended there on how to get him to run, and it was more effort based and miles and pace. And like 6-8 weeks in, it was just like I'm like, whoa, this guy's progressed so much. And I knew before he started that race that he was gonna have a good race, man. But talking about that in support system, that's what I wanted to ask you. So you make it through the race, and you have one of the best finishes I would say ever. When it's like it's still a goal, a dream of mine too. When you get to do a marathon with your buds, man, and family, and just finish the race, and you guys are in it together. Like, what was that like? You finished the race, you're having the toughest time to mile 22, 24, which by the way happens to everyone. Like those are the toughest miles. Anything after 20, we obviously strive to be in the greatest fitness ever, so that we can push on and that could be on to the next goal. But those are some tough miles nonetheless. You finished, you got the fan there, you got friends. What was that like, having everyone there to celebrate with?
Yeah, man, it felt good. The initial moment is I got to take it in myself, man. I just got to well, first off, I'm checking for engine lights, man. I'm checking for do I still got legs? Like,
Yeah.
am I still good here? And And once you check all that and make sure you're good, you just take it in, and you look back and like, man, you start like breaking these runs or this run into segments. Like, man, all this to get here to this moment, you take it in, and it feels relieving. It feels like you accomplished something that wasn't supposed to be accomplished, and it, it just, you can't describe it, man. You can't describe it because I didn't think I could do it. We started this podcast saying I would never run a race,
Yeah.
and you know, you know, even a marathon at that point wasn't even in my radar. So, I took a self inventory check, took it all in, appreciated that moment. I called my wife immediately, told her what her words meant to me. I put my son on there, and she put my son on there. We spoke, and it solidified that I had the support from them. It solidified the fact that um, you know, I had the right people around me, with my peers as well. My brother was there. My brother was just like, wow, like, holy, you know what, and yeah, man, it was good. It was just good, man. Everyone was, they're running their race, their own journey, but it was phenomenal. I think we all took a picture at the end, and maybe we should probably share that picture later. But
Yeah,
we
for
were all
sure.
there together. You were in there because you were a part of this as much as we were, and it's funny because these moments, you don't forget, man. You'll know exactly your first marathon, and I remember this. I'll remember that day forever. It'll live with me forever, and what you did for us was just, it was from your heart, and you don't know what that means to someone, but because you just did it out of the kindness of your heart, but you made me do something that I didn't think was possible, and you saw it through. Not only did you put the train forward, but you flew over just to make it happen or see it happen. And so, which leads to our next race, and you signed up,
Was just
and
heading that way.
and
Yep.
and while I don't know if I'm gonna be anywhere near your time, I'm gonna be there with you, and we're gonna cross that line, man. So I'm excited to start that process as well, and I'm working right now to continue building that base. So when training block comes again, it's not something.
Yeah. So, we talked about earlier, I mean, not alluding. So we're both doing it for those listening in Indianapolis Marathon here come November. This will be Ozzie's second, my third officially.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
feel
and
like you would have done a lot more.
yeah, for some reason everyone thinks that. It's just, I guess, between the coaching and being a nerd of running and all that, and kind of like you said, man. First off, thank you, for the kudos, man. Like, I really just kind of do it same way this podcast started. There's just a love there for running that I haven't lost and keeps growing, and it's just the love and passion of like helping people and runners, and probably something I get part from my dad, who was like not necessarily a teacher, but everyone kind of considered him a teacher. And that leads us to the next endeavor, man. I signed up for Indy. I think it was, funny enough, November, December last year. They were doing like an early pre-sale, and I was like, man, I'm doing Indy for the marathon, and I put it in that chat. And Ozzie and George, who was on the podcast, all signed up, and we're doing that in November. So Ozzie, you're currently still running, as you mentioned. Obviously your next endeavor is Indy. What are you looking to get? I know it's still early, but like, what kind of life lessons have you learned from the first marathon? What are you looking to have happen in Indy? What's your thoughts going into it?
Going back to this marathon, I talked about how you prove to yourself you could do something difficult. Now, when I face a difficult situation, whether it's at work, whether it's personal, I take myself back to those moments where I didn't think I could do something like the marathon, in those crucial moments, in those crucial miles, and prove to myself that there is a way through. I just got to find it. And if I can go through those tough situations, I can apply and see through these tough situations that I'm dealing with on my professional or in my personal style. So I've seen the darkness, is what I'm saying, and I came back from it. So whatever life throws at me, I should be able to overcome it, hopefully, And then as far as my goal, man, so I know now the biggest thing was completing one, right? Making sure
Yeah.
I can get one done. And now I know that demon, and now I wanna do better. I wanna get like a 4:30 time. So, Coach
Okay.
Fitz, start setting up that training for 4:30. Because I want to definitely get it done. Under 5 hours for sure, but at least 4:30 would be the goal that I want to shoot for. And I know it's going to be tough because speed is tempo runs is something that I definitely have an opportunity with that I should implement more. But like I said, this is where I'm doing things to help with that, right? So the strength training is going to help me with that as well. So having the gym now in my house, and now that that I have a gym, you can incorporate some of that into my training plan. So um, yeah, I think that's what's next for me in that aspect for the running side of it. I definitely want to get to the 4:30. I'm also intrigued on you know this process of running a marathon, but now we're going on a plane, right? So I'm taking a plane right from Miami to Indy, and then I don't even know. Should I book a flight 2 days later? Should I book a flight the day after? Because surprisingly, so I felt really good after this marathon. By the way,
Yeah.
the next day I was good. Like, one thing I got to say: the compression boots, man. If you don't got a pair, get yourself a pair.
Get you some
Target
compression
has
boots.
them now for like $200, man. Do that, do that. It is. Yeah, I was on them things all the time, and they really helped me out. But yeah, so this is gonna be a new something new for me, man. We're gonna be traveling, and we're gonna be adapting to that travel. Think about it. If you're traveling, you're probably gonna be putting a lot of walking going on, right? Is that wise for the marathon? Some things I got to think about. I'm gonna have to obviously navigate those waters and learn from that. And then also after the marathon's over, we got to fly back and figure that travels out as well.
Yeah.
So maybe I'm overthinking it, but that's something I'm not used to. So I gotta,
Yeah, it's a
figure that.
it's a new element, for lack of better words, that's going to be figured out into. But we'll get that sorted. None of my marathons have been at home. And now living in Colorado, that's a whole nother endeavor, because doing a marathon at altitude, I don't know about that one yet. And I do want the added benefit of going to sea level this time. But we'll get that sorted. And obviously, we're not gonna. Indy tends to be a lot colder and nice, flat course, no tsunamis, no 30-mile-per-hour winds usually. Knock on wood here. So it should be a fun race, and obviously we're gonna do that together, me, you, and George, and we'll see. I'm still trying to invite some other friends too, but we got some people going out there, and we'll have a good time. And hell, maybe we do a sync up episode on this.
And you know what? That's another part too, man. That you don't have to be critical and be so strict, man. You're running a marathon, make it fun, man. Like that's one this time around. Obviously, I want to get a goal of 4:30, but man, I want to. You can take so much pressure off yourself by just enjoying yourself, man, and like
Exactly, for sure.
I know I can do this now. So now let's have fun with it. Let's incorporate more smiles. Let's incorporate more pictures. Let's incorporate more things that you don't have to be so hard on yourself, man. So that's something I'm looking forward to do this time around as well. Take it all in. This is and another thing too, man. Like the people that are this was a smaller race, but I see all these videos of these bigger marathons, and the support system that's out there is insane. Like I'm excited to look forward to that. Is Indy one of those fits? Is it one of
Yeah,
those
it's
races
pretty
we're
big
going to
now,
see a
and
lot of people?
pretty big now and getting bigger, because the running world is getting bigger. Now it's getting harder to get into majors, which leaves a lot of the good American races getting busier too. And Indy is definitely a big one. A lot of people go for course records and PRs. That's also why I chose it. And also the cooler temps giving me time for November. But I believe last year, and I could be wrong for those listening, but 22,000 people, 23,000, something like somewhere in the 18 to 20,000 something people. So it's going to be big. They'll have a nice big expo. I believe Brooks is the main sponsor, and there'll be a lot of sponsors at the expo. There'll be, I'm sure, some pop ups and stuff with some brands. So you'll get the full marathon experience. Not that you didn't, but more like seeing vendors and support and brands showing up and stuff like that. Granted, for those listening, West Palm Beach is actually by Gardens of Life, which is the supplement company, the very healthy one. But you'll see a different level. I'll just put it that way. So that also makes it fun. And yeah, we'll be careful on being on the legs. That's a lesson I learned from my second one too, not walking too much the day before. But it should be a fun one for sure.
Yeah, it's gonna be good, man. And this that's another thing too that I'm looking forward to now. Every time I do vacations now, I tend to run in different places, and it feels good
Yeah,
to
to
like
explore.
do that. So doing more trips for more runs or traveling for races sounds very appealing to me. And that's the whole thing about the lifestyle now too. Like that's even while on vacation, I'm still getting some miles in, and it feels good to do it in a different place or a different city or country or whatever it is. So
Yeah, best way to see a city and also stay active with like not having to look for a gym or not having to look for some kind of trainer or some special added, tool needed. It's a great point, man. I love running and traveling, just going to a new place and just kind of scouring or looking at the area that way as well, especially in the morning when it's not too crowded.
yeah,
Well, on
I
that
agree.
note, you shared a lot of nuggets on here, but I would ask if you would think of any new advice, because obviously you achieved a lot, right? You ran your first half, you ran your full, you lost some weight, you got active, you had to change of lifestyle. Um, what advice would you give for someone in similar conditions and wanting to make that change and get active? And maybe it's running, what advice would you give them to those listening?
Man, I think it starts with you, right? The person that is contemplating this. No one's gonna make you do anything. It's gonna have to come from you. And you know, luckily you have the opportunity to make that switch now without something forcing you to do that move. Whether it's a health reason, whether it's a health scare from a family member, you have the opportunity to change now. And it's your choice. And it's better if it's your choice than being forced to do it. So choose now, choose you, choose your family, and then apart from that is just start small. Don't overcomplicate it. Like I said, your journey is your journey. Make it your own. And then also seek help. Like as far as your peers, find someone, a support system, maybe like a running group or something like that. Nowadays, you said it fits. It's so popular now, right? I mean, you have run groups all over the place.
Yep.
And I think that it's out there. It's just for you to choose it. Don't compare yourself to others. That's huge. I said it before and I'll say it again. Just comparing yourself is gonna rob your joy. It's a thief of your joy. So do it your way. And and um and yeah, man, that's all I can say. You're gonna have to choose yourself, and that's all I can say. Choose yourself, and make sure that you put in the time, put in the work, and you're gonna love what you see on the other side of it. You're gonna love who you become on the other side of it. But it all starts with you and making that choice. So that's all I got.
That's a great takeaway, Ozzy. Big thanks. And well, that's it for this episode of the People Run podcast. Big thanks to Ozzy for hopping on and sharing his stories, man. Real insightful for those listening, from never going to do a marathon to doing a marathon to now traveling and wanting to do more marathons. Gym in the house. I don't even have a gym in the house, but thanks for listening. If this resonated with you, or like you liked it, or you know someone out there trying to get into running or maybe start, share it, man. You can check us out on YouTube, wherever you listen to your podcast, Spotify, Apple. Check it out, share it. Thanks for checking in. And this has been the People Rock Podcast, your host, Fitz. Until next time.